to the Village in Howard podcast. My name is Mark Toohey, and my associate here, Joy. We are members of a nonprofit organization, the Village in Howard. We call it TVIH for short. TVIH's mission is to assist 55 plus older adults in Howard County, Maryland to live a happy, healthy, and active life in their own homes. TVH is 10 years old, and we have 180 members here in the county. I've been a member of the organization for a little more than a year. My background is 30 years in the technology field at T. Price. Joy, do you want to talk about?
I started working for the Village since 2012, even before the Village opened the doors to members. So I was one of the founding members. I've been with the Village for more than 10 years, and I volunteer in various programs and committees, and I'm a very active member, and I enjoy all the social activities and all the friends I've made.
Joy is our founding mother of the podcast here, and I'm simply the technology person. But we have a lot of ideas about where we're going to go with discussing a whole lot of different topics for the programs that we do, volunteering, hobbies, local personal history, health and well-being, and social connections. Today is our first podcast, and we've asked two veterans from the group to join us, Arthur Grau and John Marsch, to talk about their experience serving in Vietnam in and around the late 60s. Welcome, Art and John.
Mark, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Same here.
So, I guess the first question is, how did you all end up in the service? What was the circumstances around how both of you joined? And I don't know who wants to start. John, do you want to?
I can start, no problem. Well, when I graduated high school, I was no interest in going to college at the time. So I thought I would take some time off and see what happened. Well, then I got a letter out in the mail from Selective Service saying, "Have you signed up?" And I said, "No." And I said, "Well, you have to sign up. Everybody, when it hits 18, have to sign." So,
I go after my kids today to have them. They still have to do it.
do they really?
They do have to.
Okay.
That's right.
You can't get government student loans for college unless you do that. So,
Oh, that's interesting.
Still valid.
You've got to register.
Okay. So anyhow, at that point, I figured, well, I would go down to the Selective Service and sign up. And when we were down there, two friends of mine went with us as a group, all the same birthdays, same time frame, and we all signed up. And then, of course, we got the cornered by recruiters, and we listened to them. Didn't pay attention to them per se. Just went down to sign up, went home. And then shortly after that, got another letter in the mail saying, "You've been selected because your friends and neighbors nominated you to be drafted." At that point, I said, I'm going to have to go down and sign up for something other than infantry. So that's what I did. And that's how I got in the service.
What year was that?
1965.
Same here for me. I got a letter in April saying, "Get ready, because we want you." So I went to the recruiter, and he said, "Go down to Fort Holabird and take your physical and all the tests, and we'll go from there," which I did. After all the tests were done, there were several hundred in the auditorium. They all got called up, and they were told where they were going to go, what they were going to do. There was just a handful of us left, and we're sitting there. We're a little anxious. We just wanted to get out of there. And this guy with stripes up and down his arm came out, took us into a small room, and there were booklets on these small desks, all in red borders, top secret crypto.
Yeah.
So we knew we were in trouble. We didn't know if we had done something wrong or not. Anyway, they gave us a big spiel about the Army Security Agency. Now, my twin sister worked for NSA, so I kind of knew what was going on. But even when I signed up for that, I couldn't talk to her when I went home. But anyway, so I kind of joined up for 4 years. I was guaranteed that I could go wherever I wanted. So I signed up for 3 years in Germany.
Good.
Now, I went in August 17th, went to Fort Dix, and went to basic training there, and then up to Fort Devens for training for a year.
Yeah, and
That's the start.
I went to Fort Devens
Yeah.
for my additional training. Yeah,
It's like going to college.
it's like going to college. Fort Devens is like going to college, except you marched a mile from the barracks to the buildings where you were getting training,
Right.
4 abreast, a mile.
Yeah.
So how many years did you serve in the Army?
Just under 4 years, because when I was in Vietnam, there was a thing that came out that if you lasted until 5 months before your discharge, you would be discharged and wouldn't have to serve those last 5 months in the Army, which was a big plus at the time.
I didn't get that.
So what job were you assigned to?
When I got into NSA or ASA, I was trained in intelligence gathering, basically electrical intelligence and signal intelligence. It was basically just how to gather enemy intelligence. So that's what I was trained to do.
I was trained as a traffic analysis, which doesn't mean cars. Traffic analysis in the case of it's in the neighborhood, radio stations,
I see.
trying to figure out different radio stations, who they are and whatnot.
Yeah.
When I got to Vietnam in late 65, I ended up doing what was called aircraft radio direction finding, which I'll go into a little bit later if you like. If you would like, I have to be careful what I say, because again,
But
the
you were
clearances.
graduates. You need a lot of training, right, to do these sophisticated
Yeah.
surveillance.
So for a year.
So was that here in the States? Was that in Germany? Like, how does that progress?
Well, as I said, I spent 18 months in Vietnam. Even though it was a year, there were reasons why I had to stay a little longer, medical reasons. And then I came home, got married in 67, and then ended up in Germany for the rest of my tours for 18 months, 2 years, my wife and I. Had a great time in Nuremberg, beautiful city.
I went to Germany first.
Okay.
For training?
Right. Well, no, I'd finished my training at Fort Devens,
For how long?
and that was over a year.
A year.
And when I got to Germany, well, my MOS, which is Military Occupational Specialty,
Yeah.
it was classified then, 9AJ20, which is Electronic Warfare Equipment Operator. Now, in Germany, there wasn't a lot of warfare.
Yeah.
We went through some more training there, but mostly it was busy work. But then when the Mideast War broke out, it changed.
67 war?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, the unit we were assigned to was the 8th Infantry, which was airborne. And after the 67 war, the 8th Infantry was assigned as a strike unit,
Yeah.
which meant that we had to be ready instantaneously if anything broke up. And we would be transferred wherever we were needed around the world, basically.
Yeah.
Things changed. The Army got very strict, lots of inspections, things like that. And at the time, there were a lot of Vietnam veterans coming to Germany, and they didn't like the Mickey Mouse Army life. They were putting in transfers, 1049s, to go back to Vietnam. Now, we were basically told at that time the war was winding down. And if you wanted to transfer out of Germany, the only place you could go was Vietnam. So after 3 tries, I was finally accepted.
Very happy
I
to
was
go.
I was fine. I wanted to get out of there.
And this was 66?
This was
67?
actually, yeah, I applied in 67 and I left right around Christmas time
Okay.
in 67. So I got 45 free days leave. I'm guaranteed combat pay, hazardous duty pay, everything tax-free, blah, blah, blah. And it sounded great if I could get there before the war ends.
Oh,
Okay. Unfortunately, I got there right at the beginning of the Tet Offensive in 1968.
Expensive, yeah.
That was not a great time to land in Vietnam. In fact, when we landed at Ben Hoa Air Base, the runways are still being fought over. We thought with all the things going up as we're coming into land, we're thinking, oh, they're celebrating. They're having a good time. It's Tet. You know, it's that. It's the New Year.
You landed in Benoit, didn't you?
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
But that quick landing, and then we got off on the slides. We didn't go down the steps. They brought us down in slides and on the APCs to take us to bunkered areas to process it out. You know, so it was a little bit of a shock. And I'm thinking, Sarge, you know, I've thought about this, and, you know, I think I'd rather go back and wash trucks on Sundays in 25-degree weather. You know, that didn't seem so bad then.
won't work.
Too late.
And John?
Yeah, well, I mean, my entrance to Vietnam wasn't nice, quite so nice. Depends. Went to, said I was assigned, when I said all my training was done on, I were assigned to Vietnam. I ended up going to what's called the 303rd ASA Battalion, or not ASA Battalion in Fort Walters, Texas, which happened to be the flight training school for helicopters, the basic training for
Right.
helicopter pilots.
Yeah.
And shortly thereafter, we were signed, got a notice that we were leaving, and I ended up taking a 3-day troop train,
Yeah.
like my dad did in World War II, from Fort Walters, Texas to California.
Yeah.
Got on a World War II Liberty ship. It just came out of mothballs, USNS General William Weigel, and we had 1,200 Army personnel, 600 AS National Security, or called Radio Research. They changed their name. And there were another 600 Army going to Thailand, and there were 1,200 Marines going to on the DMZ.
Oh, yeah.
And so off we went in this World War II Liberty ship. If you don't know what they are, they're not your normal ships. They had rounded bottoms. And they didn't go straight, they kind of bobbled.
He said,
And
yes, he said,
there were a lot of people, yes, and I was probably one of them early on with my head over the railings. The Pacific is normally really calm, but when the storms hit, it's really bad. And it took us 45 to 60 days to get to Vietnam. Well, it kept breaking down, ship. We spent one time 3 days bobbing in the middle of the Pacific because of trying to fix the engines. And ended up going into, I can't remember the name of the place in the southern part of Vietnam, the port. It wasn't really a port. It was just like you would see in World War II, getting on LST and they driving onto the beaches. This is what we did, got on down a rope ladder with our equipment into the LST, went on to the land, and then they put us in 2.5 ton trucks, a bunch of us, everybody in there, taking us to Saigon, someplace in Saigon, for where we stayed while we were getting prepared to go up to Benoit, the 2nd Field Forces. But that was it probably took us 2 months to get there, where later in the year, they flew you there.
Yeah.
You got there in 10, 12, 14 hours.
Oh, luxury.
But that was interesting to be that, and you understand what your parents went through, your dad or whatever, when he was fighting in the Pacific, because he went through the same things. Interesting.
your dad was also a veteran?
He was like I was telling Arthur, I said, I do a lot of genealogy. And my family's mother's side, my father's side, came to this country in around 1690.
Yeah.
And my mother's side of the family came here from England around 1680 as indentured servants. That's how they paid for their way. They said, and she was up in, uh, well, not Wilmington, but in Delaware. There's no Wilmington. It was Delaware and the Pennsylvania or Maryland border were kind of nondescript back then. And so that's where they came from here. And my dad's side came around 1690 from Germany and France. And so they all met the males on both sides when fighting of some sort was needed, they volunteered. Both sides volunteered. My mother's side volunteered the French and Indian Wars. My dad's side and my mother's side, both sides in the Revolutionary War. I'm a member of the Sons of the American Revolution now.
Wow.
And everyone, and my grandfather was in, my people were in the Civil War. One died in Andersonville. My grandfather was in the Spanish-American War and in World War One. My dad in World War II, and all my uncles and everything were in the Korean War. So we all were veterans.
Military family.
That's what we did. He needed help. That's what we did.
Okay, so then the work began.
Landing at Benoit Air Base wasn't a lot of fun. I got out of there
Yeah.
and I was transferred to the 371st Radio Research.
Yeah.
But that was the intelligence unit for the first Air Cav. Now, we were shipped right up to Camp Evans, which was outside of Hue, which was currently being fought over viciously during the Tet Offensive.
Yes.
And I was kind of baptized by flying in UH-1 helicopters with the equipment jammed into the back. And we would sit with our back to the pilots and we would monitor the equipment. And we would fly over enemy territory and we would try to gather as much information as possible about the enemy. Then we would come back and get debriefed, and they had maps and pointers and all kinds of stuff that we would provide in terms of what we found out. But generally, we would be flying fairly low. And there was, at one point, an OH-6 helicopter that would fly above us. And later on, there were Cobras, gunships that would fly even higher to protect us. But in November of 68, the team that replaced me got shot down, and all four of them were killed. The OH-6 that went in to survey what was going on, they got shot down, and the Cobra went in, they got ambushed and shot down. So they lost 8 of the team that day. And I got shot at a lot, as I'm sure you might have, but you get used to it. We were told.
No. You never get used to it. I'm sorry. No. When I went out, I was doing aircraft rating direction finding, which is kind of earlier what he was doing. And we would go out in Jeeps. There would be 3 Jeeps to a team. And we would go down, drive it when the first infantry went out in Zion. We would go out with them. They would assign us roads. There were roads back then, and some were dirt roads.
So were you trying to triangulate where these?
Yes,
places were
we
coming
would
from?
drive different areas, so you'd have 3
Here's my
Jeeps
bearing
going out.
and all that, and
Yes,
cross the bearings, and that's where.
yes, we would know the radio frequencies, and sometimes one of us would have to do searching. We found this frequency that we knew was the Viet Cong. You take a radio fix number, you shoot a fix on it. What it's doing is, where is that coming from? And we would radio the position to a Piper Cub flying around. And so the 3 Jeeps were varying these various ones in the same frequency. It would tell somebody where that signal was coming from, like, land-wise. And they would call in bombers to bomb it. And back then, they called the Skywriter, which was a World War II Korean War prop-driven bomber who carried a lot of bombs to bomb it. And it worked for a short period of time. Now, VCOM were not stupid. They go in the air, all of a sudden, in 30 minutes, they're getting bombed. Said, oh, gee, I'm American, not so stupid.
Yeah.
And so what they ended up doing is taking copper wire, a mile of it, and stretch it down away from where they're transmitting from. So what got bombed was a bunch of trees with a copper wire on it.
Yeah.
We wised up. Towards the end, we started calling those Skywriters. They call in waves of B-52s, and they do a carpet bombing.
Yep.
So that's how that worked. So we're driving
Would they
around.
radio detect you,
Pardon?
knowing that someone else is monitoring them?
Yeah,
They also would know that these jeeps.
I'm not sure I understand the question.
What?
Could they find you?
Yeah, you find
Could
it.
your radio allow them to find you as well?
That's a good question. No, I don't think so. No. They were too busy trying to, whenever they went out, 99% of the time, when I mean they, I mean the 1st Infantry Division, yours, 25th, they would kind of melt into the background. And kind of a side story, the 1st Infantry Division in Zion was next to a rubber tree plantation. And what the Americans didn't know at the time is that the Viet Cong had a huge underground complex under part of the 1st Infantry Division's ground. They didn't know it, and they didn't know it till after the war.
Really?
That they were
big
there.
Tunnels.
Big tunnel, not just big tunnels, big caves. They had cooking places. They had hospitals underground.
I've seen my nephew lived in Vietnam for a while teaching English, and he brought back photos of, because you can go on a tour and look at the underground areas. But Vietnam it's interesting how much it's changed in the intervening time.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I recently was thinking about maybe thinking, but turned and said, nah, going back to look at the areas. And I went online to Amazon, Google Maps. I went to Viet Cong and went to Tan Son Nhut area and whatnot. No jungles. It's all developed.
Skyscraper.
There's nothing there anymore.
Shopping centers.
Yeah, shopping centers. Yeah. Yeah, it's really a different place than it was in 1967. I mean, they shot a tiger right outside of our compound at night. This tiger came up and set off one of the we had things on the concertina wire, and if anything was disturbed, it would cans with nails in it or something. And we had traps there that would set off claymore mines that would set off,
Oh, yeah.
and they going off occasionally. But yeah, it was jungle still back then. There was you got out of these little hamlets, and it was essentially a jungle.
Yeah.
Vietnam was an interesting experience.
What's the most memorable, say, day or event?
Good,
You still
remember,
remember?
not Vietnam. Well, there was one in Vietnam, but that was the one we got mortared. But no, I don't want to talk about that.
Okay, how about on?
The interesting one was in Germany,
Yeah.
1968,
Yeah.
summer of '68.
Yeah.
And I was assigned, said that the field force, the NSA had a place in Germany called the Herzog Base. It was referred to as a field station. And one of the things I had to do occasionally, every other day or so, would have to, look, there's nothing that you have today. We would go, we had places along the borders of Czechoslovakia, East Germany, all those places, which would have radio stations there intercepting signals from various places. And this was during the time when Czechoslovakia wanted to become free. They wanted to break free of the Soviets. And three of us had to go down to a place called Mount Schneeberg It was a mountain on the border between Germany and Czechoslovakia. And the pickup tapes, big, it was a 1/4-ton pickup. We picked up a lot of tapes, recording tapes to bring back for processing. So I went up there one day. It was a long drive to get down there into the mountains. So we stayed the night, go pick up the stuff and leave. We stayed the night and we heard this noise in the morning, all this clanking and everything else, and it was a little foggy. This is in the fall now. And we went up and looked outside, and there were these Soviet T-72s or T-52 tanks with their cannons pointing at us. We're no more than a 1/4 mile away. They're pointing at us, and it says, "Oh my God, what do we do?" So we had to call radio down to this field, and then we were told immediately to destroy all the equipment and set off thermite bombs. And the thermite, when you set them off, would burn right through all the equipment. And then beat feet out there as fast as we could. That was the most memorable, having to do that.
I do remember in Vietnam, gathering intelligence we thought was pretty important. But there was one time when we were briefed on our mission. We went out, and we were out there for about 3.5, 4 hours.
Yeah.
Got quite a bit of information. But we realized when we went back for debriefing that that unit, fairly large unit, at least battalion size, was heading in our direction to our base camp. So we had plenty of warning.
Yeah.
And 2 nights later, sure enough, we had put in more claymores,
Yeah.
more barbed wire, and we had more sentries all around the perimeter. So that by the time they attacked us, we were ready for them.
Yeah.
So that was good. That worked out. And a lot of the other information that we got, we thought was quite valid and served a big purpose. Unfortunately, there were times when we thought the information was really good and it wasn't utilized. So that got a little frustrating sometimes. But we felt like we did a good job. And quite frankly, I mean, we got into some stuff. But for the most part, we were there to defend the guys that were fighting.
Yeah.
And that felt good.
Yeah.
Because we weren't out there in the bush. And quite frankly, they had it much, much worse. I mean, we were flying our missions, but we were only out there for hours. A lot of the guys in the bushes, the Marines and the Army, I mean, they were out there in the jungles for days, weeks,
Yes.
without any real supplies. They were in danger.
Sea rations.
And sea rations, exactly.
Sea rations.
And lucky to get fresh water. I mean, they had it terrible. So
And
we
the
were
weather was hot, mosquitoes.
all the time. And
Swamp.
Yeah. I mean, disease was rampant. So was drug use, unfortunately.
Yeah. we were fairly,
Huh?
Where did they get the drugs?
I'm talking. There are a lot of especially the infantry
yeah.
drugs, heroin, marijuana, LSD was high then. Yeah, it was there. And some of those guys he's talking about, that they had it really rough. That was their only escape. And I can't blame them, quite frankly. Let me tell you. Because World War II, you kind of knew where your enemy was. In Korea and in Vietnam, you never, your enemy could be your neighbor.
Well, if there's building bases underneath the ground,
Or
right?
building, and that wasn't alone. There were other places like that. They learned very well to build underground
Yeah.
and to make traps underground too. They had what's called pack rats. These are small little guys who were maybe 5 foot tall
Yeah.
or stature, and that was their job to go in these holes.
That was one job I would not.
I would never want to be.
No way, those tunnel rats, that was dangerous.
Yeah, because they have Viet Cong would put traps. Sometimes they put a cobra in the hole. In the hole. Other times you'd be down there, no problem, walking along, and all of a sudden you put your knee down, and it'd be just some grass covering it or whatever, not grass, dirt, and it'd be a punji sticks down there. Your knees would go into them, and you get severe infections. They ambush you inside the place. Being a tunnel rat was not a good.
I'm sure they drank quite a bit. For us with our units, man, I mean, we had to be ready 24/7. But most of our missions were during the day. We did fly at night with no running lights. That was a little scary. And when they're shooting at you, they have tracers.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you're in pitch black and you see these tracers coming toward you and oh, let's get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
But there wasn't a lot of drug use because we had to be ready all the time. We did drink. And when
Beer
it's
or more?
mostly beer, although we would make runs to the PX when we were courier runs. We would take information to 3 or 3rd. But the thing was that we'd stop at the PX with our duffel bag, and we'd have orders from our buddies.
Yeah.
You know, the Chevys and the Jack Daniels
Stick
and
supply.
all the rest is cheap. So we'd come back with a duffel bag full of booze, and we would drink. But we were sober when we.
If they're flying a helicopter, you had to.
Yeah, you needed to be.
Not so in the ground.
No. We watched a lot of movies where they had a sheet over a 4x8 piece of plywood on top of our bunker.
Yeah.
And we would sit there and watch movies at night and drink. Now, here's the thing. We were allotted 3 beers per person a day. Now, it's warm beer. I mean, it's not refrigerated. Okay, get that.
It was 3% alcohol. It was GI beer.
Well, it was Miller and Schlitz and Schaefer. But here's the thing. You only got 3. But as soon as new guys came into the unit, oh man, my name is so-and-so. Oh man, where are you from? Blah, blah, blah. Do you drink beer? So we would get their rations.
Yeah.
So we could come up with 9 beers, 12 beers a night. Now, we may not have had all of them, but the thing was that the beer was available. So we had plenty of that. And we did have the bottles of booze. It helped to sleep when it's 99 degrees and it's 100% humidity. It's a little tough sleeping.
Did you have mosquito nets?
We did have mosquito that worked. Maybe
Not when we were driving the Jeeps, a quarter ton. Sometimes it was a Jeep, sometimes a quarter ton.
Yeah,
Depending what we were doing,
Right.
what was available.
exactly. But and the leeches, snakes. I mean, in the book, there was one time when we had a shower. It was a wooden shed, basically, we built. And then we had 2 fuel tanks from fighters that we had put on top.
Yeah.
And then they had welded spigots. So we had showers. One time I went in there after a long day and I opened the door to go in and I look up and there was a humongous, big black snake that had curled around one of the
beams.
beams. Yeah. And so, of course, with my training, I ran back to my tent, grabbed my M16, put in a clip, went back, and I just sprayed the top of that shower. Now, lots of snake guts, but also lots of wood splinters, and we had a corrugated roof that had a few holes in it. Now, I'm thinking, all right, man, my buddies are going to be so pleased that I got rid of it. They were not.
Nope.
I learned how to weld. I wound up having to fix that all up. I spent a lot of time plugging in those holes and putting a few new beams on. And after 2 days, got the shower back working again, but I was not well liked after that.